Hey everybody, welcome to our third annual A Parent's Guide to Raising Digital Natives, brought to you by Pioneer RESA and Warrior TV here in White County. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got some very special people in the house today. I want to give some acknowledgement there. We've got Charles DeWalt. He is the Executive Director of Warrior TV, and we also have Caitlin Sosby, and she's going to be kind of moderating our live event tonight on Facebook. So if you have questions, she's going to be looking at those questions, and she's going to be getting those to me, okay? I've got her some really cool sticky notes, and she's going to put them over here right beside me, and I'll check them out. Also, we have Juan Gonzalez. He's going to be working, doing our Spanish translation, and we're currently having a little bit of technical difficulties with that one, but he's still translating it. It may have to be after the fact that my Spanish audience gets to see that video. So sorry for the technical difficulties. Still going to be a wonderful show. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's take maybe 30 seconds, and I'm just curious, why are you watching tonight? How did you hear about this, and what did you really come expecting to know? What do you want to find out? So on the Facebook Live page, I got Caitlin over here, and just comment on there and say, hey, Brian, I really need help with this. This thing right here going on, or I got some younger kids at my house, and we're thinking about phones. Whatever the question is, put it in there. I'd love to address some of those throughout the show. We'll do some little question breaks, and I appreciate that. This is also a great time right now is to just take a second. There's a share button on there. Get that share button and share it to everybody you know. Some of you have a lot of friends. Maybe not in person, but you have a lot of Facebook friends. That's a funny joke. But let everybody know. They don't have to be just here in Georgia. That's where I'm at right now in Cleveland, Georgia. It could be anywhere. I love the little camera fun thing that we're having here. So spread the word. I greatly appreciate it because I got much to go over. So again, this is brought to you by, I'm going to look at our slides here. I got some slides for you. You'll see my face here and there. Huge thanks to all the folks who are making this possible. Kensington Electronics will be giving away 10 $50 Amazon gift cards. That's crazy awesome. So that's the end of the show. I have a survey trying to get some viewership data on who watched, where you're from, and you'll be entered into that little drawing there. So that's 10 $50 gift cards. So today we're talking about these 6 main topics. We're going to talk about social media, the settings on the phone, because the phone itself is pretty much why we're all here. The phone has really just changed how parenting works. And it's just kind of made a complication. And even though the phone is powerful, it does good things, parents are just trying to figure out how to do it the best way possible. Gaming is huge. That goes for phone gaming as well as Xbox, PlayStation, other consoles as well. I will grab my phone. I'll show you how these apps show you what they look like. So you get to see what does TikTok look like? I heard Brian talk about TikToks. I'm not sure what a TikTok is, but I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like, and I'll show you some privacy and security tips as well. So let's get this party started. So I'm going to give you a tip for the future. You ready? Let's start positive. Information is cheap. I want your child to be successful in life. I know we're talking about technology, and this has to do with technology, but the information by itself is cheap. You know what we're going to need to really be successful in the future? We're going to need students, your children, to take information that's easily given. Again, information is cheap. We can just Google things and actually do something with it. That's create something. Apply it in some way. So when I go to different places, I see students on phones, I see kids, I see adults on phones. I'm on my phone sometimes. Like, Brian, what am I really doing here? How am I making something out of this information? So that's really the key to success here in the future, because information by itself is very, very cheap. And we actually already got a question in. Oh man, how to keep kindergartners safe without keeping her from learning digitally? That's a great question. Thanks so much. I will address that one. I got that right here in front of me. Look at that. Bam. Question right there. And what do you recommend to track your family? That's Dog the Bounty Hunter. No doubt. Dog the Bounty Hunter will definitely track your family. He's really good at that. So, no, I got some tips for that as well. So we'll be looking at those questions here in a second. When we're talking about creativity, we're talking about technology. Creativity has made a huge jump in a skill that employers really want their employees to have. And here's the reason why. It's because, again, information by itself is only information. Employers want employees who can actually take that information and do something to help their business. And you know what's really good at doing exactly what it's told all the time? It's very compliant, and it doesn't take sick days, and it could work all days of the week, 24 hours, that's called a machine, a robot. And we're trying to compete with that in the future and trying to give your child a leg up when it comes to having a job, a really good job in the future. Now, before we start talking about a lot of digital things, we have to talk about this digital cigarette, really. This is called vaping. I want to spend 1 minute on here because you didn't really come to watch this. But the CDC is urging people to stop vaping because we've actually had people die. We've actually had even students die because of vaping. As of now, I just pulled this data just here today, over 2,000 cases of vaping illness has been reported and over 47 deaths. That's remarkable, and not in a good way. It's super scary. So we have all this data on cigarettes. We know cigarettes are bad for your students, and I'm about to show you how to help keep your kids safe online with technology, but we have to keep them safe physically too. So if you're out there and you're thinking, man, Brian, I know cigarettes are bad, but vaping sounds like it's a good thing. Maybe it's better than cigarettes. We don't have data on it yet. It's so new. And the CDC, they're saying, no, we should probably just kind of chill out a little bit with the vaping. Let's not quite promote it just yet, because we do have students getting hurt, and it's really causing a lot of issues in our schools throughout Georgia and beyond. Some of you know this already. We got some more questions in. How do I weed out helpful apps versus harmful? Some are junk. That's going to be in our social media section. Thank you so much. And then what are some suggestions for gaming time limits? All right, so these are very, very personal. We're getting to gaming here later too. I like these, like little Post-it notes here. These questions are coming, so get ready. And then we use family sharing and screen time and downtime a lot. I'm suspecting my middle school is overriding it. Is this possible? Man, kids, they can find ways to override lots of things. We have to talk about, some parents want a magic pill that's going to stop all the really bad stuff. There's more to it than that, so stay tuned. Let's keep going. Why are we here? How did we get here? Why is Brian even doing this? Well, it all stemmed from the iPhone being released in 2007. This was a game changer. It stopped being just about texting and phone calls to data and apps. Really, the first iPhone itself didn't even have an app store. I don't know if you remember this. Some of you remember. You've been around a while. It didn't even have an app store. It just had a Safari. You could browse the internet. But as for like an app store itself, that didn't come on until like the later generations of iPhones. So that's why we're here. And here's the big issue. We all have to talk about this. This is also why we're here. Parents like these things. I'm posting right here on my screen. Parents like these things. They like child safety. The reason most of you have given your child a phone, depending on the age of your phone, is because you love your child and you don't ever want to see something bad happen to them. That is why. Am I right? Like, just give me like a thumbs up or something on the Facebook Live. Give me a thumbs up and let me know, because that's what this is really all about. It's like, Brian, I gave my child a phone in case they need me. Like, if you're ever caught in a bad situation, you call me, you text me. Also, they have geolocation when it comes to smartphones. So all these things are really cool. Constant communication and convenience. There is something convenient. I'm going to be very honest about a parent going, you know what? I don't really need to worry about where my child is at. I can always contact them. And that's a pretty awesome feeling. I'm not going to say it's not. So parents want to keep their kids safe. But what has happened? What has happened is that we have traded, as parents in this country and beyond, we have traded this for this convenience, for this safety, for knowing all these things about and helping our children be able to contact us. We have given them something much more than what we bargained for. We have. Some of you already know this. You've seen children at your child's school, and it's just opened up Pandora's box of craziness. So I'm just going to give you one tip right here. So you're like, Brian, I want my kids to be safe, and I don't want that crazy stuff. You ready? This is it. This is not going to make you popular. Let's get unpopular right now. Let's get very unpopular. What about these? I just Googled this, like just here recently. Here's a phone. I think the phone was free. This is from Track Phone. I'm not endorsing this company at all, but they make flip phones. And for $100, your child will get 400 minutes a year. And the phone is really only used for that thing that you're talking about, that you really want, and that's child safety. Wow. Now, is your child going to look really cool at school? There's no way in the world they're going to look really cool with this phone, I'm going to tell you. And so that's a big, that's a big thing parents, we got to decide. You got to decide individually is, do I want my child to kind of keep up with other folks around them, because that's kind of the current trend, is having technology. I want them to have access to all this stuff. Or am I really about the safety and they just need this flip phone, this old school flip phone, okay? So that's an option, and super cheap it's a good option for a lot of people. So let's talk about digital footprints. So I love this picture now. I really always loved going to my grandma's house. She had like the footprints in the sand right above like the toilet. I love that story. But this one right here has dog feet, and it's just kind of fun. It's kind of cute. Dog feet in the sand. And what I'm talking about when it comes to digital footprints, I'm talking about footprints that don't wash away. See right here, see that little picture you saw? There's like the dog prints in the sand. Eventually the tide's going to come up and they're gone. And we're never going to know about Ralph or Max who was walking on the beach. Well, your students, your kids, you too, you adult, I'm talking to you, whatever we're doing online is leaving behind a trace. Now, some of us do better than others when it comes to safeguarding our content, trying to put a lot of security and privacy and those kind of things on our stuff. But let me tell you, even the best security and privacy isn't going to stop everything from happening when it comes to your digital footprints getting out. So digital footprint means proof that you were there somewhere. I'm going to give you a story. It's about social media. This is the tale of Carson King. So, and this is very hot. This just happened, very recent, and this is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes about digital footprint. So, on the left, that picture right there, it might be on your left, it might be on your right. There's a gentleman, and he's holding up a sign, and he's being silly. He got there early. I think he's like a college kid, and he's trying to raise money using Venmo for beer. Okay, so that by itself isn't illegal. He's being silly. He's on game day. It's on like some college game day, that kind of thing. And what happened is, people really resonated with it, and they started sending him money. They sent like $600. They sent him $600, and he was like, man, you know what? And this is like, he had really good intentions. He goes, maybe I should just donate this to a children's hospital here in Iowa. And I'm like, man, that's a really cool idea. So this person has a good heart. Like, they're trying to do really nice things for people in his state. But then something happened, and a reporter said, you know what? This is a guy. He's in the news a lot. Let's find out more about him. And he dug up some dirt on him. Yeah, he dug up some dirt. This guy here, Aaron Calvin, he's a news reporter in Iowa, and he said, he found some old racist tweets by Carson King. Remember the guy who did the really cool stuff for his state, raising money? This reporter dug this up, and you know what? And the community was interesting. So the community, and he was repentant. So Carson was very repentant about his earlier racist tweets when he was in high school. He said, you know what? I hate that that's there. I quoted rap lyrics, whatever, and it came out that the reporter who dug that up on him also had racist tweets and homophobic tweets. So Aaron Calvin was later fired for his. So what has happened is we have these two gentlemen who grew up like probably right when like Twitter was coming out, and they were tweeting things, saying things that is not socially acceptable at all, and really lost out on some things. Now, the first guy apologized. He actually went on, he actually was able to get redeemed, some redemption there. He was actually to go on and raise $3 million for the Iowa Children's Museum. I do think when we make mistakes, digital mistakes, we have to teach our children that it's not always the end. It's not always the end when we make those mistakes. But we have to fess up. We have to be very honest about what happened, and we want to change. And of course, the other gentleman, he didn't get his job back. I'm not sure what he's doing. But it's just crazy how like one person was like tattling on another person, and then they got caught too. And a lot of that's going to be happening here. Unfortunately, here in our future, kids are getting older. They just grew up with technology. They came out of the womb. There was technology. They were leaving a digital footprint. And we all have this footprint. Their footprint's huge. I'm like getting into my upper 70s. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Upper 30s. And I have a footprint, but it's not like your child. Your child's going to have a digital footprint since they were born. Like you were there with like an iPhone, like ding, 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 taking pictures of your kid. They're all over the place. So you got to be careful. Teach our kids about digital footprint. Here's some more questions. Let's see if I can answer maybe one or two of these. Hey, can I monitor my 12-year-old while he's playing Roblox or Minecraft to see what he's doing? The best way to monitor that is you actually have to be beside them. You have to sit beside them and watch what they're doing. And like, if you're a busy parent, then we have to have real conversations like maybe they can't play those things. Now, on Xbox, I know you can set time limits on these things about how long they can play, and the same thing goes for an iPhone or Android phone, I'm sure as well. But the best way to monitor a kid on their device is actually you're going to have to go sit beside them, because that is there's not really an app to monitor exactly what they're doing. So that was a great question. Great question. Thank you so much. And here's Carson King. He went on to raise $3 million for an Iowa Children's Hospital. And now he speaks to students about his social media downfall and how not to make the same mistake. And I enjoy it. When I work with students, they need this. They need you to talk about this stuff. They don't need the digital footprint. Let's talk about Instagram. Instagram is going to be the hottest, one of the top 2 hottest apps that teens are using, and it's also very popular among adults as well. And the big question is, if you allow your child to have Instagram, are you going to allow it to be public or private? All right, so public and private. Just for those who are on the show right now, and you don't use Instagram, you're not on social media, maybe it's a grandparent in the room. Grandparent, thank you so much for coming. Thanks so much for watching this show, because this is all new to you, but you are like investing some time saying, you know what, Brian, I want to know about what my grandchild is doing. And I know grandparents just like that, and they're trying really hard. And if you know a grandparent who needs to hear this, they're raising their grandkids, please send this on and lend a hand. And if you know more about digital safety than this grandparent, lend a hand. You too. You go sit beside that grandparent and say, hey, I want to help you raise your grandchild. I'll give you some tips on digital safety. So when it comes to private or public, we have to know is if it's private, that means only the people that the child chooses to befriend them can look at their accounts. All right, so if they choose to follow them, they can look at their pictures, look at their accounts. If it's public, that means anybody gets to see it. When I say anybody, I mean anybody. All the people in your town, all the people in your county, all the people across the world who have no business looking at pictures of your child. Okay, and some children, they're young, they don't understand really the repercussions of this. And we've had instances, and I'll get to that later, we'll have instances of predators who use these tools to lurk and find teens who are susceptible to emotionally susceptible. Like this child's going through something right now, and this predator will say, I can kind of tell by their social media posts, and they just predatory type things. Like I'll come in there and I'll offer some kind of bit of love. I'll be nice, and then they could pick up that child, meet that child somewhere, and really do a lot of damage to that child. So Instagram, make sure you have that discussion with your child, private or public, because creepy guys do exist. By the way, I went to a website called Unsplash. That's where you get photos that you can use freely and not have to worry about copyright issues. I just typed in creepy guys, and this guy came up. So I feel bad for this guy. I mean, he's pretty creepy. I'm looking at him right now. But he's probably like a really outstanding gentleman in his neighborhood. There's a website I like. It's called Family Watchdog. And you could type in your zip code, you could type in your address, and it'll actually map out all of the sex offenders, people who have committed violent sexual crimes in your area. It'll map them out and show exactly where they are. So that's actually a good teaching tool to your children. I know, like if you have young children, you want to be careful of like how much you teach them about this stuff, but we have to teach them something. And whatever your family's comfortable with, you got to get started somewhere and say, hey, there's some people in our city, and they may be looking at your public profile, and I'm not comfortable with that. Have those deep conversations. Let's talk about TikTok. So TikTok is super hot right now, and one of the reasons it's super hot right now is because there was this song. You may have heard about this song. It's called Old Town Road. Y'all heard about Old Town Road? It was a big deal this year, and it was actually discovered via TikTok. And it's a fun app. Let's just be honest. Just like all these other things, like Instagram by itself, it's not just evil by itself, okay? People do evil things with it. People do evil things with Facebook. People do evil things in their car. I mean, there's all kinds of weird things happening all across our world. But TikTok itself, it's a karaoke, almost like a karaoke type musical app where students, adults, every demographic can use it and usually pick songs and you sing to it. And I'm going to demo that here in a little bit and show you how it works. And also, let's talk about a couple of concerns I have about TikTok. So there's a thing called duets. And I do have a video on this, but I don't want to show it because when you show copyright materials on Facebook Live, especially if it's even music in the background, let's shut it off. But I want you to understand that this TikTok duet, there's a child on the right there, and that child did a song, and her account was public. And in this video, this gentleman over here, who I have no idea his name. I don't want to know his name. He did a duet with her because her account actually allowed duets in TikTok. There's a little button that says allow duets or turn duets off. You know, a duet's kind of like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. Y'all remember Islands in the Sun? Or Islands in the Stream. That's the song. And there's creepy people out there, and you don't want them doing duets with your child. And there's privacy settings in all these. Children can keep them private, but parents have to be very, very involved in all of this, especially on the age of depending on the age of the child. Because who's to say the child has this private account that's very, locked down, mom and daddy are happy, but then they also have this false account, this account that's over here, and mom and daddy don't know about that one. Who's to say you can't have multiple accounts, multiple emails? I'm sorry we have to talk about this. We just do. Let's do this question right here. What are your suggestions for gaming time limits? That's a Brian question. You just asked a personal question. Personal game time limits, I would limit to whatever you're comfortable with your child getting all the stuff they need to get done at the house. School's important, getting your work done. Physical activity is important. And then you can I played video games growing up. It was a little different. It wasn't connected, but it had value. You get to play with friends. It was somewhat social. But there's studies, and we know that just looking at a screen all day isn't the best thing for students. And especially if they're not applying information. We talked about earlier about creativity, applying information, doing something with information, and playing games all day is not that. There is some good things that happen from gaming. You learn some like tactile skills. There's some good things, but it fails in comparison to all the negative things. So you do need to put a time limit. Make sure your kids are getting enough sleep. And if they're sleeping with their phone, they're probably not getting enough sleep. So I just said that out loud. So let's just keep going here. YouTube is a terrible, terrible babysitter. And YouTube is a social media app. It really is. It can be social. I'm actually working with a group of students tomorrow, and we're talking about YouTube as a place for students to create content, because that's kind of one of my things. I want to help students create things and they can be useful, and other people can benefit from their creativity. But I'm just going to tell you, it's sad. I see it all the time. I see a child, and they're just watching YouTube. A young child, and they're just watching YouTube all day in these different scenarios. And I have to travel a lot. And I'm just wondering, what exactly is the child watching? Is it like a curated playlist that mom and daddy put together? And it could be, it could be that mom and daddy said, here's the channel you can look at. That's all they're doing. But it doesn't take much to just kind of get curious and come over here. And YouTube has content that's not suitable for children, for teenagers as well. And students, you're like, well, at least they're not watching this. They're not watching the bad stuff. YouTube has plenty of the bad stuff. So having free YouTube time is dangerous. Now, as your child gets older and they're about to get out of high school, go to college, then we have to kind of loosen the reins. Y'all understand what that means? We got to loosen the reins. But you have time to do that. Middle school, it's not just free range. We're not saying y'all just go do whatever. Y'all let me know if you need anything. I'll be drinking some coffee, watching the Goonies. No, you have to be very involved with your children when it comes to all these things, because there's plenty of snares to get caught up in. So YouTube, terrible babysitter. Please don't let it. I get it. You're busy. You're super busy. But there's just so much really, really bad content on YouTube. I made a video this past year. I called it A Parent's Guide to iPhone Parental Settings. And they have settings for Android phones too. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to dive into my phone here in a second. I'm going to show you what you can do. So I showed you that flip phone earlier. Remember the flip phone? I showed you the flip phone. And we could take an iPhone and actually lock it down where students can only pretty much text and make phone calls. All right, text, make phone calls, and have GPS. I'm going to show you where those settings are in case your child does have an iPhone and you're like, Brian, I want them to have that GPS thing. I think it's cool. Flip phone, we already got this. I don't want to buy a flip phone. You might be comfortable with doing this step. So I'll show you that here in a second. All right, let's answer a question. By the way, if I don't get to all your questions tonight, there's a lot of questions, right, Caitlin? There's so many questions. Caitlin's doing an awesome job. Y'all give her a shout out. If you're watching around, give her a shout out. Say, Caitlin, thank you so much for hooking Brian up with all these questions. Let's see, what we got up here? Is there a free app to limit social media time? We'll get to that on my Apple settings. I'm going to show you that in a second. So let me put that right here in front of me. How are creepers getting to kids via Snapchat? So there's a couple ways. One of those has to do with like this is we're getting there. We're a little early on this one, but I'll go and touch it. So when students are using Snapchat, especially if they're using it for nude photos, those photos do get leaked. Many times they get leaked out from the intended source, and creepers do get photos from Instagram. It's been documented. It does happen. We want our children to have private, not private accounts. I mean, you want to be involved, but only the people they know. We don't want them to be friends with folks they don't personally know or trust. So that's my Snapchat answer. We'll keep going here. Okay. I'm going to pull up my phone. Y'all ready? Live app time. Who's ready? Let's do this. You guys having fun? I'm having fun. Charles, thank you. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Charles. I got Juan back there. He's getting our Spanish translation going. And even if it's not playing live right now, my folks who speak Spanish, we will get that to you probably within a day or two. So you'll be able to watch this. So I really appreciate him as well. So I've got my phone. Let's pull up the phone. Charles, let's see what happens here. There it is. There's the old phone. So let's first start with apps that students use to hide things. So see on the bottom right, there's a calculator. And you're like, well, Brian, that looks cool. And I've showed this before, but I got to show it again. I got to show that there's apps out there that students use to hide things from people. And if you put this calculator on, it looks just like a calculator. But what Mama doesn't know is that if I put my secret code in and I hit the pound sign, not the pound sign, percentage sign, it takes me to my albums. And here's my album, and there's just me making a really cool duck face. Look at that. But more than likely, if it's on a student's phone, they have that, it will not be a photo of Brian with a nice fade. All right, so let's move out of that. And let's go look at those iPhone settings real quick. We'll look at some more apps. So even if you're on an Android, they probably, and Android itself has some parental apps too. So on your child's phone, you would go to screen time. And that's a little misleading because you're like, well, Brian, I need more than just that. I need more than just screen time. So if you click on screen time, all the stuff is there. And it tells you what's the daily average of how much that child's been using that phone. And you can come down here and you could go to content and privacy restrictions. And you could lock things down to things they're allowed to see. Like if they're looking at content, you could turn some of these things, like you could say, you don't want share my location on. You want that off. But that's one you probably want on, and that's for you to locate them. So there's those. Let's go always allowed. Now this is pretty cool. This section right here, you can say these are the apps that are always allowed when they have that right. So there's more settings in here, and all these other things are off. But they get maps, they get FaceTime, they get messages, they get phone, and that's all they get. So you have this control. You can say they only get these things on their iPhone. We can also look at app limits. Some of you guys were talking about time limits. Is there a free app to limit social media time? That's that question right there. You could add a limit and say, you know what? I'll go to social networking on, let's say they're really into Instagram, and I guess I can go next, and I can say, oh, they only get 10 minutes of Instagram a day. Whoa, only 10. I mean, if they're going from hours of Instagram to 10 minutes, you better be ready because they are going to be angry. So, but you're a parent, you got to get them angry sometimes. And then downtime, schedule time away from the screen. So you set a schedule. So at night, you can say, at a certain time at night, the phone, only the apps you choose to allow, and phone calls will be available. So you're like, well, Brian, I got everything turned. There's no messaging turned off at a certain time. So you have these settings built in. It's passcode protected. You don't share that code with your child. You don't use a popular number that your child knows. And you have some of those built-in settings into an iPhone. And I'm sure Android has some of the settings as well. It just looks different. So let's go ahead and jump into TikTok. We'll go to Instagram. We'll go to Instagram. Let's do Instagram. So as you can tell, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and our year hasn't been that great. But I want you to know down here, there's a search icon. See that search icon on the bottom? There's a search icon. Let me tell you, some people post stuff on Instagram that you don't want your child to see. And if they search for it, they can find it. They can find it by a hashtag. They can find it by a place. They can find it by a term. It's a search. and they could find pretty much whatever they want. Let's just say, for instance, they search butt. I could search butt right here, and we would get a whole lot of butts. We could also use other terminology, slang, and you're going to see some other things that we just don't want to see live on the air. So that's the main concern with Instagram. I already told you about private and public. Let's go ahead and look at TikTok. So that's the one that's really current. Students are really into. So I'm going to open up TikTok. There we go. Now, I can't guarantee, so this is live. I got to give like a little heads up here. If something really sketchy comes, just close your eyes, because this is live. This is not curated. So this gentleman here, he's doing some cool stuff. He's looking, he's going to jump. Nothing sketchy. But something could sketchy really pop up here. So this is very live. But what happens is, students can view, so you see that discover button? Students can view other people's TikToks, and there are TikTok videos of inappropriate content. This has been documented, and if you're a parent and you don't trust me, just go hit discover and just put your favorite words in there, and you'll find them. Okay, guarantee it. Some of you will blush. You will blush at that. Thank you, Caitlin, for more questions. Appreciate that. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a TikTok, so you guys see how that works. I have to allow access to the camera, to the mic. There is, hey, that's our studio. Caitlin, where are you at? Say hi. That's Caitlin. Caitlin's helping us with the show. Thanks, Caitlin. And there's kind of what I'm seeing in the studio. That's cool. Let's go back to me. I'm like, this is my show. Come on. Where you at, Brian? Flip. Oh, yeah. Yeah, looking good. And then you got all the filters and effects. You know, the kids love the filters. Look at that. Oh, look at that, man. Take away the wrinkles. That's cool. That's cool. Let me get out of here. I don't even know. Okay. And then you got to pick a song. That's kind of how this thing really works. Sounds. And I don't know, W2 Lazy. I'm not sure that's going to be what you guys want to listen to. But I can go to trending. Let's see trending. What are people into? Buttercup. Why do you fill me up? I doubt it's that. I doubt it's that song. Is there anything? Mariah Carey? I don't know that. Oh, All I Want for Christmas. Yeah, we're doing that one. Let's do it. Actually, I can't do that, because I'm sure it'll shut us down. But what happens is that song comes on, and I get to lip sync to it. Someone said a really sweet thing. They said, Brian, this is like Christmas for parents. That makes me feel so good. Y'all see it right there. This is like Christmas for parents. So Merry Christmas, everybody, from Brian Buffington, Warrior TV, Caitlin, Juan, and my new friend Robert back there. Robert's doing some magic too. So that's TikTok. I can't play the music while I do it, but you sing. It's social. And it's big. Kids like it. So that's that. I guess we're going to look at Snapchat as well. So let me pull up Snapchat. I don't have it downloaded, but Snapchat works very similar. But Snapchat has that one feature that parents, I'll go ahead and put that away for right now, that parents are kind of aware of, but it got its popularity, like in the education world, because people found out that you could send pictures to people and put a time limit on it. All right, time limit on it. So a student would send a picture to somebody. And it's kind of fun. You send a picture to somebody, say, all right, you got it's 10 seconds or 5 seconds. Well, what happened is teens were sending nude photos to one another in hopes that it was kind of like carefree. It's going to go away. No one's going to save that. But most teens now understand how that works, and that people can. They do screenshots, they take pictures of pictures, and it happens all the time. It's all in the news. We're getting to that. Hope I didn't have to talk about that, but I have to talk about it. It's important. Let's keep going. Gaming. Oh yeah. How many of your kids are gaming? Just put a hand up right there. I don't know if there's a hands feature up on the Facebook Live. Caitlin, I bet people game, don't they? I bet kids are gaming all over the world. So gaming is a big deal. It's changed. Gaming at one time was, like you just sat beside a friend, you played Mario together, and you had to keep it on, or you would lose all your progress in Nintendo. But now we play connected. You play online. You play all your friends. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun. You can play athletic game, football. You could play like war games. Of course, Fortnite's the biggest one. So gaming has changed. But we got to talk about some areas where we want to keep our kids physically safe too with gaming. Of course, when they're gaming and they have a headset on, you have no idea what they're saying usually. So I advise parents to go check it out. Say, hey, even if they get you the nasty look, they give you the nasty look. Say, hey, you got to let me listen, or you can't play your games. So it's like that's how this whole parenting thing works, right? And they may say like, oh man, you're like the most awful person ever. Well, like I'm the most awful person ever that who loves you, wants to keep you safe. right? That's what this is really all about. So here's an instance right here. We had an 11-year-old boy. This just happened. I think this was a couple months ago, September 25th. 11-year-old South Carolina boy drove 200 miles to live with a stranger he met on Snapchat. Oh my goodness. So here's a little video. Here's like the news report on this. It's crazy. If not, just imagine what this wonderful lady is saying.
Boy drove
all the way from Simpsonville. He drove all the way.
Boy was going out to the coast
to Charleston.
The man he met on Snapchat around midnight. Boy pulled up alongside an officer and told him that he had just driven 3 hours and he was lost because his GPS signal didn't work.
Somebody's shooting me.
Uh-oh, here, let go back. So we watched that video, and by the way, my crew, they're doing a wonderful job. Mr. Charles, we got a little word here that some people are saying that there's an echo, so it may just be me. I'm so passionate about this, but if you could look into that, I'm sure all the viewers would greatly appreciate it. So that child was playing a video game, was talking to somebody, and decided to go meet up with that person. We already talked about that, how predators, they're looking for students, and they're looking for people who are maybe emotionally kind of distressed, and they want to take advantage of them. They want to take advantage of the students, and he actually convinced that 11-year-old boy to drive to Charleston. So if your child is going through something, you notice that your child is maybe acting a little bit different in your household, you have to ask some of these really tough questions like, hey, are you talking to anybody online? They're playing a lot of video games. Hey, show me how this works. Hey, I want to listen to this. You really got to be in tune, and especially if your child is not acting the way they usually act. That's a sign. That is a sign. It doesn't mean something really awful is happening. It just means you're going to be a parent and you're going to be involved with that. Now, this is Fortnite right here. This is me playing it. And I just showed this. I made a video of me playing Fortnite because I want to let parents know that if they're going to allow their students or children to play games, they really need to know how they work. I know that sounds weird, like, well, Brian, I'm older than you. I don't want to play a game. At least have the child sit beside you, show you how it works, and make it like an activity. Get some cookies and milk. Get really involved with how it works. Fortnite is social. You're playing people all across the world, and some predators actually have talked to kids. We had one instance here in Northeast Georgia. Somebody from Pennsylvania had driven down to meet a child in Northeast Georgia over Fortnite. So, got to say these things. I want to keep kids safe. Let's talk about this. Let's do a couple questions here. We talked about the echo. Oh, it looks like we got it. Oh, Caitlin, give me a thumbs up. Yee. Good. Thanks, Caitlin. Let's go. We'll get back to that one here. Can kids hide apps? Ooh, we already did that one. Yes, kids can hide apps. They can make folders on a phone and put it in the folder itself. They can also use those calculator type apps, and there's a bunch of different apps too that kids can actually take an app and then hide other apps. Yes. So there you go. I'm giving parental advice tips here in a little bit, so don't go anywhere on some of those things, like big picture ideas. What app is the biggest threat to kids today? This is a good question. So the app that is the biggest threat to kids today is the one where kids are. It's probably going to be nude photos, any app, and that can be text messaging. So it's kind of people are like looking for a silver bullet. I know this is a good question. People want to know, like, what's the one app I can delete from my child's phone? I mean, that's like an easy solution, but it's really apps that your child has access to the outside world, and can also perhaps send photos of themselves and really just get in a bind by sending nude photos out to people. And it travels all across that region as well as out of the world. I guess not out of the world, not space, but on our Earth. There we go, Brian. That's what I meant to say. So there's no specific app, but the ones I say the apps that are the biggest threats are the ones that the kids are using the most, and that's going to be TikTok, it's going to be Snapchat, it's going to be Instagram. Okay, so those are the three that students use the most. Let's keep going here. So I've got a picture here, and it is of how we used to do things when you want to talk to somebody. Maybe you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and I showed this last year because I just like this picture. It makes me think of old times. And if you got in trouble, your teacher would pick it up and read it out loud to the class, and that was always terrifying. But now people have skipped this. They've skipped this, and now they do this. They do this, and there's a fancy word for this. It's called sexting. But it's almost as if when I hear from students or I hear from principals, parents, it's almost as if they're like numb to this now. It's almost just kind of like part of dating culture. And as parents, as adults, we've got to do something about this, because that is not an appropriate dating step. It's not, and sometimes it actually is almost like the first, second step. Some people have used baseball as a metaphor to in dating, the first base you hold hands, second base you kiss. Well, first base for some students is actually, hey, I'm going to show you this nude photo of myself. I want to be accepted. I want to feel loved, and we want them to feel loved in other ways, not just that. So we have to have these conversations with them. And it is in the headlines wherever you are. I don't care if your child goes to the most awesome collegiate private school ever. They go to a public school, small town, Bible Belt, a belt that's outside of the Bible. I don't know, wherever you are, we have students who are making this grave mistake, and it's done with just casualness. I don't even know if that's a word, but they're being very casual about it and not thinking about the repercussions. There is laws. I mean, it can be considered child pornography, and some people do prosecute children for this. People are sharing these nude photos of one another, but it's bigger than that. It's not just about ooh, you got caught, you did this. This is very emotionally, mentally just degrading for someone who takes a picture and it gets out to the world. Now, I would hate for anybody to have to go through that, but it happens all the time. So we got to be very vigilant and talk to our children about that. Nobody wants to talk to their kids about sending naked pictures, but that conversation, here you go, that conversation needs to be had as low as probably 3rd to 4th grade. And you're going to modify that conversation, and you're going to say it in a different way. You're not probably going to mention sex. You're just going to say something like, hey, what would you do? Here's a good Brian tip for you. What would you do if somebody asked you to send them a naked picture? And usually a 3rd grader's response will be, ooh, gross. But we have to have those really tough conversations, and that's a very PG way of saying it. When they get to middle school, you're going to have to amp it up a little bit more. And maybe be a little more graphic about how that works in the middle school setting. But we have to have these conversations and just kind of tier it to the age level that your kid is at. Let's keep going. So let's talk about data. Let's talk about privacy, security. I want to help parents. I want to help students too. We need to have really good passwords. Passwords that hackers cannot get into. And right now, hackers can pretty much do a lot of things, and they're breaking in these companies that have millions, billions of dollars in security. Facebook was hacked this past year as well. Even Fortnite, up to 200 million worldwide users, data was stolen. So here's a good tip for you, so you can kind of keep safe with or with your accounts. Let's try a passphrase. And I've actually had a meeting with tech directors, security experts, and they have talked about this. They said, this is the safest way to keep your account locked down. And it takes a hacker longer to do a passphrase. So some of you saw that slide. So a passphrase might be, I love Rocky Road ice cream, and then with a hyphen in it, maybe some kind of explanation point or something at the end, and that's actually more difficult to hack into than your name and a 1, 2, 3, which are very common passwords. And the passphrases are easier to remember. So there's a tip for you. Try a passphrase. They're a lot more fun. You'll actually remember them. I know some of you have a book that thick with every one of your passwords. Some of you have the same password for everything. Okay, and if a hacker got that, boy, they would be like in Cancun right now, just living it up, because they'd have all your money. All right, so don't give them all your money. Also, another thing is two-factor authentication. This is on all the social media apps, as well as your bank, most websites. And what that means is, on your phone, if if someone logs into one of your accounts, let's say Instagram, let's say Caitlin over here logged into my account on Instagram, well, it's going to say, it's going to say, Brian, we sent you a code on your phone to make sure it's you. Because Caitlin shouldn't have my phone. So if a hacker has your password, they have your username, and they log into your account, they're going to have your phone to get that password that was texted to you as a security precaution, which is a great extra step. Not only are you doing pass phrases, you're doing two-step authentication. That works for Gmail. It works for all the emails, your bank. Hey, go sign up ASAP. Get that stuff turned on. You'll see it's called two-factor authentication. It works for Facebook. Some of you, bless your heart. I mean, that's Southern right there. Bless your heart. Your Facebook account has been hacked in 5 million times. It's time to do something different, right? Passphrase, two-step authentication. I want to help somebody, okay? You know who you are. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Caitlin, we having a good time over there? Everybody having a good time? We're blowing it up, aren't we? All right. Maybe we can do a question here. We'll do tracking in a second. Let's see. How do I weed out helpful apps versus harmful? Some are junk. How do we weed those out? The parent needs to know what the apps do. So that's that real conversation of, we got to have the apps come beside me, show them what they do, and if it's junk, we need to delete it. The parent needs to know exactly what is on that child's phone. And as they get older, as they're a senior, they're getting ready to go to college, it's up to you, like how much freedom you want to give them. But as they're younger, they're in middle school, even early high school, feel free to be very involved. Because if you're not involved now, you're going to be involved with something else. That could be much more worse. You could be involved at like the jailhouse. You know, you got to get your kid out of jail if something crazy happening online. So I'd rather get involved like in my living room on my couch watching football. You know what I'm saying? So get involved now. Don't wait till later to get involved. We'll keep doing the questions. And if I can't get to every question, remember, if I can't get to every single question, what I'm going to do is over the next, because there's probably a lot of questions on there. I'm just guessing. There's probably like a buku of questions on there. I just said a buku. I'm going to get to those throughout the next few days. I'll try to answer those, and really appreciate Caitlin rocking this over here, moderating our conversation. Now let's talk a little bit about bullying. We're doing good on time. We've got about 10 minutes here. So we all know that bullies exist. They've existed since like the beginning of time, just people being mean to one another, kids picking on one another. Even when I was in school, kids picked on each other. It's just different now. Here's the big difference, let me tell you. So some of you are like, well, Brian, bullying's been going on forever. This online bullying, my kid needs to like grow up and just kind of like take it like a man, bullying. We don't have to deal with that. So here's the deal. For those who are kind of feeling like, maybe we're overreacting to the seriousness of bullying. So when I was in middle school, if you just don't wear white jackets so people not pick on you. When people would pick on me, when I would go home, people didn't pick on me, okay, because there was no social media apps. I wasn't connected at home. This is back in like 1990s, all right? I wasn't getting bullied at home 24/7. I was only bullied maybe in a certain class period, something like that. Now, the child who is bullied at school or online comes home, and the process just goes on forever. They can't escape the bully. And it's super sad. It's super painful. We have students who are really stressed, have high anxiety, students who want to hurt themselves about this kind of stuff. And we as parents, we got to have those warning signs. My kid's not acting like they used to. My child's acting strange. We got to have these conversations. Get nosy. Get in there. Parent, get on in there, right? Okay. And it only takes one. So my thing is, I can't stop all the bullies. I'm not there. So this is what I need from you, parents. You ready? This is what I need from you. I want to raise up an army, a digital army of students, because there's a lot of kind students who want to be nice online. I want to raise up an army of those students who are kind of like the watchers. They watch over when they're on social media. If they're on social media, they're the people who are kind of watching out because parents aren't there, cops aren't there, principals aren't there, and they're the ones who, if they see something, they're the ones who stand up, and they don't necessarily have to confront the bully. They're the ones who say, you know what, you're not alone. And we're actually going to listen to one of my best buddy here, Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future fan right here. Michael J. Fox is going to talk about kind of his ideas on bullying and how we can combat this together. So let's check it out.
Well, I have some experience with it being different things because I had Parkinson's. so sometimes I look differently than I may feel inside. And that's the thing. I mean, sometimes people, what they look like on the outside and what they feel like on the inside are very different things. And so it can be really damaging when you are feeling a certain way and someone says, it's about the way you look. And it can really throw you off because you think, well, what is that? And I think with anybody, if you see somebody getting bullied or picked on, find a moment when you can go to that person alone. If you don't have the courage to go to the person in front of other people that are bullying them, find a moment when they're alone and just kind of say, I see what's happening to you and I feel bad about it. I don't know what I can do about it, but I feel bad about it. And maybe you can get someone else to come up to them and say, I feel bad about it too. And then the next thing you know, they've got friends and they've got at least some sense that they're not alone. Because that's what it's all about. It's about being alone. And if you feel alone, you get nowhere to turn.
All right, so that's what I want. So as a parent, I want our students, our kids that we're raising to be awesome, amazing citizens in our world, to be the ones who are saying, you know what, I don't want anyone to feel alone. I don't want anyone to feel like that nobody wants to talk to them. They're being bullied online, that they say, hey, you know what, I saw that. I want to help you somehow. They don't have to confront. A lot of people, when I talk to kids about this, they're like, Brian, I don't want to confront the bully because the bully's scary or whatever. It's not cool to confront the bully. I don't think they have to. I think they can talk to the student. They can also talk to an adult. I talk about that as well. Talk to an adult that you trust and really try to help that child. So here's some tips for parents. Talk. Now, things are changed. Like there was a time where dads didn't talk about anything, and now we're going to have to man up here, and dads are going to have to talk about all the weird, crazy stuff. With sons and daughters, moms, you can talk too. Moms usually like to talk a little bit more than dads. I'm not trying to stereotype, but that's just the way it is. Moms, dive in there. I mean, even if you assume something, like, well, everything's cool, it doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to ask and get really, really involved. Create guidelines and procedures. This is big. I go places and they're like, well, Brian, my kid does this, my kid does that. And I'm like, haven't you been given this responsibility to be a parent? And with the most sincerity, I'm trying to say this with the most sincerity that I can, is that we need parents who are willing to stand up and say, you know what, I don't care like what the rest of your class is using in school. I don't care what the social norm is. I care about my child, and I think that it's best that they don't have a phone until this age or until they're ready, whatever that is. Because a lot of times I just see students and they just have their devices, and mom and dad have just kind of said, you know what, it is what it is. And they may not say that out loud, but that's kind of the action that they are giving. And they're not monitored at all, but there should be guidelines, there should be procedures. I know people who are like, Brian, my kids don't sleep with their tech. I mean, there's studies on that. Kids are sleeping with their tech. They're not even sleeping that well at night. They don't even know how to put away the phone. They're just kind of they're really addicted to the phone itself. And procedures. So procedures meaning, like when you get a new app, dad or mom wants to know about the new app. Or maybe you have to ask permission. On the Apple phone, on an iPhone, you can make it where the child has to ask permission to get an app. And you'll get a little notification that says, ding, 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 your child's requesting this app. And then you can do research on the app and see if it's okay. So have those procedures. Next is play along and stay current. If you want your child to have a device, the best thing you can do is just be heavily involved and know exactly what's going on, know how the apps work, and do things like this. Come watch these events, these live events. I do this once a year. Also post helpful things on like Twitter sometimes, on Instagram as well. But there's things in your community, there's things online. Common Sense Media is a good place to go and learn about apps as well. And I think we're pretty much at the end here. And I want to close with this word of advice right here. Parents are super, super busy. I'm looking at you. You're working like 3 jobs. You got like 4 cats and a Saint Bernard, and you've got no time. But you want your child to have a phone for whatever reason, to be safe, or maybe it's just the social norm at school. Here's the deal. If you don't have time to monitor and stay up to date on current trends, sit with your child, know the apps, have those weird conversations that nobody wants to have. If you don't have time to do that, please, please, please second guess giving them a device. If a child has a device, the parent really, really needs to be involved. And that's what we can really change things as parents. We can help our students, help our kids make the most of their time and keep them safe. And technology is a wonderful tool. I'm very pro-technology. I work with teachers. I work with students. We talk about how technology can be a powerful tool to create and make a better life for people and help people. But that's not happening a lot. And it's not happening as much as I want it to happen when it comes to K-12 students. We need to give them more guidance. We need to give them some more guidelines and procedures. What we didn't cover parental control apps. Some people, I have a couple minutes to answer some questions here in a second. We didn't cover parental control apps. They make these things. People always ask, Brian. Some people are watching this right now, like they only tuned in because they want this one thing. Brian, what's the app of all apps that's going to save my child? They make apps, but none of them are foolproof. Technology is always changing. Your child is smarter than you think they are when it comes to digital technology. They grew up with this. You probably did not. And I say that very seriously, even with a person who's in technology all the time. So parental control apps, I think what they are, it's almost like a false sense of security for a lot of people. And I don't promote them. But if you're watching right now and you got one that works, you have at it. You say, hey guys, I use this parental control app. And help each other. I hope you guys are talking to each other online through the chat. I think that's a lot of fun. Here's one on GPS phone locators. Now this one, I'm not totally I think this is fine. We want to know if your child has a smartphone, you can use an app like this. There's a cost. Usually all these GPS locating apps, there's a cost. I know that Apple iPhone has built-in GPS that doesn't cost, there's no monthly fee, but they do make apps like this that work for Apple and Android. And this one has more features than the Apple. You pay for it, but it has more features. It'll actually notify you when your child arrives somewhere. It'll give you little notifications. Bling, bling. Johnny has arrived at the ice cream shop. It'll actually tell you those things. So that's kind of a cool, cool way to know that your child is safe. Again, I made a video to help people with parental controls. I'm going to do a couple questions, and we're going to end with a little video about being thankful, about things that really matter. So let's do a few more of these, and then we're gonna close up shop. So one is it safe to use the thumbprint on smart devices as a saved password? I really don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea. I use, I guess the new iPhones have face technology, so I don't really touch it anymore, but the older ones did. I know my Mac has one where you touch and you can log in. I just don't know enough about this information. So you go do some research. You tell me what you find. I'm sure there's some concerns there. Do you think blue lights from screens is an issue? Should parents think about protective eyewear as a preventive measure? You know, I think staring at a screen, period, too long is not good for you. I think we've got to get outside more. We've got to, I've heard this before, I don't know if it's valid, that since we're inside so much, students and even adults are getting more allergies. That when we go outside, like all these allergens and stuff really mess with us because we're not used to it as much as we've been in the past. Limit screen time. I'm not sure about blue screens. Not sure about that. We have a classroom one. I got to do that one. A classroom one, all about the classroom. How can we use cell phones in a positive way in the classroom? Any tips? Now this is tough. Like, as a teacher in a high school, middle school, if you're using cell phones in the class, you're going to have to rock that classroom management, and it's got to be very specific what it's for. Like the kids have to do something with it. And so I know I work with schools. We do like a thing called a goose chase, a scavenger hunt with a phone. That's a lot of fun. But it's got to be something that's active, really. If you're just saying, y'all research with your phones, let's see what happens. Researching on your phones, what that really means is go text your friends. That's really what that means. Age to give a child a phone, what is too early? That's a parent question. You got to kind of decide yourself. Personally, I like giving a phone that has very limited functions, just those safety ones like texting, phone call, those kind of things that the child can get in touch with you, GPS maybe. And it depends what your child does. Like if your child's away from you a lot, they travel a lot, and that's a benefit to you, then yes, but just make sure you got it locked down and you don't give them that Pandora's box. And what do you recommend to track your family? My wife and I, we use the built-in Apple Find Your Friends, and it kind of shows us where we're at. So it's kind of cool. Lets me know, like we're both traveling at the same time. Lets me know how far away I am from her. So it's been real good. I am thankful for a very special person. We're going to close with something a little different. We've never done this on this show, but we have a very special guest in the building, and it really is his last day at the studio. He doesn't know I'm doing this. I brought the guitar. We're going to sing a song. It's going to be kind of awesome. And his name is Charles DeWalt. And I'm going to ask Charles to come out here for a second. And we're going to sing a little song. And I don't know if he's going to come or not, but I'm going to sing this. We're going to close. And I want to say thank you so much to Kensington Electronics for sponsoring this event. And there's the link to the survey. That's how you get entered into the $50 Amazon gift cards. We have 10 of those. So I'm going to leave that up. I'll post that on the website, on the Facebook page itself. And Charles, I wrote a custom song for you. So come on up here, Charles. Come on up, man. And he's already been recognized at there was a board meeting today in White County, and let's just keep recognizing you, man. I want to thank you so much for making this happen. And you may not be able to hear him, but his voice is sincerely humble. He is not here to put on a show, but he is here to put on a show, but not for himself. He's here to put on a show for students, for parents, for the community here in White County and beyond. And it's a great privilege to even work with Charles. When I called you up a couple years ago, I said, I've got this crazy idea of helping out parents, and I want to get on Facebook Live. And it wasn't there was no questions. It was yeah, let's do this. Really, it was pretty simple. It was like a handshake. Let's do it. So I'm going to sing you a song. Now, some of you may know this if you're from back in the day. This is called Charles in Charge, and I just changed the lyrics just a little bit. And I really do thank you so much, Charles. So.
No problem.
Wait, I gotta get it. Hold on. How does this go? Charles in charge of our show and our lights. Charles in charge, he knows how to do things right. And I want Charles in charge of me. That's for you, man. That's for you, buddy. Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Man, love Charles, man. He's the best. So, hey, hit the link up, and he's amazing. Hit the link up, get the surveys in, and also some of you are here in Northeast Georgia. They collect that information the schools do to kind of know which parents are which parents are watching, or how many parents at the school are watching, so they can kind of use that to count as a parent event. And if you really benefited from this show, please let Caitlin know on the computer. If you would I need to know if you really enjoyed the show, and let Caitlin know, and that's going to help me kind of guide as we go on to next year. And I'm working really hard trying to give you the most trending, relevant information. So let's put the survey link back up. You guys have an amazing night, and I'll record this. You guys will see it later too. Thanks.